let's talk about something else, because we're in. Thank you for coming along first. I really do appreciate people calling in and coming and having a chat. But the next thing I would like to the D&D element is probably what the majority of you have come for. And I just wanted to share you this image before we go any further. And I haven't cropped it or anything, but hopefully I just wanted to show you this image because I just think it's a fantastic image. I think whoever created that, I'm extremely jealous of them that they have the ability to do that. Grief, I just noticed that one of my bookcases is extremely messy. But this is actually from, well, some of you might know what it's actually from. It's actually from the new SpellJammer material that came out. And I'm not kidding you, I start with I think I've got it, Mr. Miyagi. I think I got the little mozzie that was flying around. The interesting thing was when we couldn't play Mithras on Saturday night, I actually started to read the book, and absolutely adore the setting. I just thought, yeah, that is it. That is what, and I know. It was unbelievable. I don't think I got it, but I might have stunned it. Hope it didn't fall in my coffee. So, and I started to read it, and it was absolutely unbelievable. And I'm not a great fan of the D&D system. I think it's I feel it's getting, they just sort of like keep putting more content into it. But what I'm really pleased about is that we're going to have a go at spell jamming. And with the new group that Matt, of course, who's in the chat, is going to join us. So it's going to be like the Mithras group plus extras. And I did think whether or not I should hand over the GMing to somebody else, but I thought, no, I would hate it. I really would hate it, not knowing what's actually going on. Anyway, so SpellJammer has come out for 5e, okay, and I wanted, in this sort of like section, I wanted to share with you, we always like going back and looking at old books. So I wanted to share with you these, because these are actually the original Dungeons and Dragons SpellJammer material. So these are the original ones. I initially played first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and you can probably see at the top, this is second edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, AD&D we used to call it, you know, rather than D&D. And I think what happened is that later on they no, you can watch it. You can watch it, Matt. There's no spoilers, don't worry. They actually renamed it later on back to Dungeons and Dragons rather than Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. So I've got two books. This is the War Captain's Companion. That's that one. And then the other one that I have here is AD&D Adventures in Space. This here, let me do it. This is my favorite ever monster. I absolutely adore mind flayers. They're absolutely brilliant. So I just wanted to sort of like share with you what was inside. Yeah, the title was cool. And this, okay, so you got something known as a ship's recognition manual. How cool is that? a ship's recognition manual. And honestly, it went through all the different types of ship that you can have. So there's loads of ship. I mean, it's full of ships. That's all it is. I'm trying to find my favorite ship, of course, is the Nautiloid, this, which is the ship of the Mind Flayers, which I absolutely adore. So that was the recognition. There's also this book that was Realm Space. And this was sort of like the nitty-gritty part of the rules, but with all the different deities in and things like that. And then this was the sort of like the concordance, all the information about it. And I mean, you can probably tell, you know, there's no color in this at all. There's no color from beginning to end. But for us, this was sort of like the real sort of like interesting thing. And then we had D&D Adventures in Space, Lore Book of the Void. So this was all about the lore that happened, the different kinds of ships as well, the different crews that you would have. Then you would have the War Captain's Guide. How cool was this? Can you imagine getting this for the first time? It was absolutely unbelievable. And this gave us personalities, areas in space. They used very sort of like old-fashioned siege weapons, so there was a lot on that. And then this final one was Combat Among the Stars. This was the final one. Combat Among the Stars. And this was all about tactics, initiative rolling, and everything like that. Oh, there's so much detail. Honestly, Darth, there is so much. There is so much made or available for D&D. It's unbelievable what's actually here. So this is D&D Beyond, which is sort of like an online version of it, and you pay for these. But I mean, if you go into this here, you can see all the different source books, but this is not all of them. You know, I mean, look, there's absolutely, these are adventures. There's so much made for this game. It is unbelievable. It really is completely unbelievable. And this is what I say, when I'm playing Mithras, there's very little content out there. You know, if you go and look for D&D, you'll find a huge amount of stuff. But for Mithras, there's hardly anything. So this was all one book. Now, I have to say that I might have got the boxes mixed up. Okay, or I might have put two boxes together, but that was one of them. I might come back to that, so I don't want to put it too far away. And then I think any book in there that said Captain's Guide probably belonged in here. And then this one, okay, so the first thing, can you remember what you could get a PhD? Yeah, exactly. Well, just to let you know, Matt, just because it's interesting, I heard somebody actually has a PhD in Scooby-Doo. Yeah. So their PhD was all about looking at Scooby-Doo and the stereotypes and this, that, and the other. Their PhD is actually on Scooby-Doo. So you probably could. This is my note. You got a whole load of cards like this. Okay. Now you have to remember that in those days we there was no computers. So we used to have little figures. We used to have floor plans that we laid down on our table. One of the things that I remember very fondly of bank holidays is that bank holidays, we used to have D&D sessions at my home. So I was sort of like in my, late teens, so 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And Chugawugga would play, and then we had somebody called Stuart and somebody who called Mark and somebody called Iram, and I forget what the last guy's name was, but he recently got in touch with me on Facebook actually, and we would take over the dining room, and they would bring their yes, exactly. That's what I thought. You would even think that these are planned. And we all used to come round, and my mum was fantastic, and she would give up the dining room table, and we would play from about 9 o'clock in the morning till about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And we would have a break for lunch. We would have snacks right the way through. Mum would bring me in cups of tea, and we literally would play all day. And there's very fond memories of that. I have to admit, and I don't know. Obviously I know what Chugawugga is doing at the moment, but I don't know about anyone else. I really have no idea what they're all doing. So, but it was very fond memories sat round. There was once, I remembered then, we were going to play a game called Golden Heroes, which was about superheroes. And I painted all the little figures, and I actually made a whole scenario, a whole detailed scene out of cardboard for the road, and I had polystyrene that I painted and made different colors and had toy cars over, and I covered it with a massive sheet and put all the player characters on top of this mountain, and I said that they were in a mountain, and then they went back in time and got transported, and they lifted their characters up, and I revealed this sort of like this landscape of sci-fi city where they could actually, we only did one massive battle. That's all we ever did there, and it was absolutely fantastic. So things like this, the cards, these were so important for us, because they've got like deck plans on the back and everything. But, this was what we played with all the time. And this, this is the one thing that I actually miss about playing online. This thing here is what I miss, because this is a Dungeon Master screen. I don't know if you can see it. So we would be playing on a big table, and one end of the table, or one sort of like area, would be mine. And on the back here is all the information that I need, all the skill rolls, etc., etc. And then this would sit on the table, so the players couldn't see what I had behind for the adventure. So I could roll dice and decide what I was going to do, then have notes and everything like that. And I really miss a Dungeon Master screen. I know it sounds silly, but I really do miss it. And now I just have a screen with all the information on that I need, and then that's it. But Dungeon Master screens were brilliant. You also got maps. I mean, look at this. How fantastic is this? A full map, the mysterious DM screen. Yeah, very much so. You got maps like that. There's event lairs, And then I don't know whether or not you'll be able to see this, but I'll put it up. Can you see this? So this is a Dragonfly SpellJammer ship. And all these came with it. And you put them together like that. And then, of course, what you had is this, which is space. And so all these little figures would sit on here to move around for all the combat, etc. I mean, this, honestly, this is what it was like. It was absolutely unbelievable. So this, this was the Planetary Display Map that you could do. No idea what it really does at all, but it was in this. I'm not going to show you that because it has ramifications for other things. I mean, you got so many. Look, all these ships that you could just cut out. Or, well, they were, I don't know if they're on that card that you can pop out. You never really needed to cut it out. You just popped it out. And honestly, it goes on and on. There must be about 5 or 6 different cardboard cutouts in the box. And honestly, I can safely say that this, when I was growing up, and I learned very quickly early on, I don't know if you were the same, I learned very quickly when I was growing up never to say to my mom that I was bored. Because if you said, I'm bored, mom would say something like, well, go and sweep the floor then, or go and do this, or go and do that. And I remember I've talked about this the first time I went to a library, and my mum said to the librarian, find something for him to read. And she gave me Susan Cooper, The Dark is Rising. I don't know if you've read the book, but it's a fantastic book. And that got me into fantasy settings. And I think it was The Wizard of Brisingamen or something like that I read, the Earthsea trilogies. And then I read a series of books about something about a golden talk. I want to say Julian May books, but I might be, oh yeah. So these were the Julian May books, The Merry Coloured Land. These were the books that I sort of like read a huge amount of. The things like The Golden Talk and Many Coloured Lands, this was a really interesting series of books because the main character, and I think this is true, the main character in our world had leprosy. And then when he transformed, when he went into the Many Coloured Lands, he lost that and was some kind of heroic figure. And I remember reading and reading it over and over again. Such a fantastic series of books. It is the year 2034, and fantastic books. And I read that. Anyway, I always used to have this thing that I didn't have anything to do. And when Dungeons and Dragons came along, I had so much to do. I would make adventures, I would read books, I would think about how to transform it into real life. I wanted to make campaigns and dungeons and adventures. And I almost like felt that all of a sudden there was something for an avenue for my creativity to sort of like come out and actually have a purpose, and all these wonderful things, worlds that I was encountering. And I have to say, so, and everybody says this, you know, my school life was not nice. You know, there was lots of bullying and things like that, but I still went to school. But it was as if Dungeons and Dragons was that outlet. You know, it was sort of like when I came home from school, I would immediately get my homework done and to sort of like, oh yeah, by Stephen Donaldson. That rings a bell. Is that what I'm confusing with the Golden Torch? Maybe that's, yeah. I think you're right there, Darth. I think I've sort of like mixed up the two books. I think, yeah, I think this is what was referring to most definitely. Yeah, I've missed them. Yeah, I remember these now. Lord Fowl's Bane and the Ill Earth War and things. Yeah, thank you for that. That's put me back on track. Yeah, they were fantastic books. Absolutely fantastic books. For me, it was coming. Yeah, exactly. And this was sort of like ages. Yeah, that's it, Darth. Thank you so much for that. That you've put me right. And I'm really pleased because I love those books. Really fantastic. And Julian May must have been a different set of books with characters. Coming home playing Minecraft. Do you know, I sometimes wonder if my life would have been different now if I'd had that level of technology. But I only think that I'm streaming a lot now because I could afford it, you know, and I can afford to get a good computer. I can afford things, and, you know, but I really think, you know, there's that wonderful saying, isn't it, that you only get 2 lives in this world. The first is from birth to death. And the second life is the life that you start living when you suddenly realize you only have 1 life. And I think that's so important, you know, that you have to get to that point that you think, I'm going to make the most out of this. I don't believe in wishes. You know, I don't like it when people say, I wish that. I wish this was different, because I feel like saying it's not different. Wishing is not going to change it. Either change it or shut up about it. You know, in the nicest possible way. You know, it's just sort of like, no, don't talk about it. I also wonder if my life would be different if the internet. Yeah, exactly. You know, we were talking on Facebook, and Matt, you will not remember these at all, but Darth might. We used to have cameras, and cameras had film in them that you have to send off to be developed. But we're laughing on Facebook about a flash cube. And a flash cube was a little thing that used to attach to the top of your camera. And it had 4 flashes on it. And as you pressed, it flashed and then turned round to reveal a new bulb. And, you know, it's just sort of like, I remember that so much. The height, and I never knew anybody who had one. The person who had a Polaroid camera, that it actually came out of the front and you have to waft it to dry up. Yeah, I remember those fantastically. Yeah. So we're getting close to the hour. It's been lovely having a chat with you all, but I thought it would be really good to look at where SpellJammer actually started. You know, this is where it started. And it's interesting that it's taken this long for everything to come back round and actually make a reappearance, you know. And I'm definitely going to enjoy running the adventure, and probably maybe even look at a campaign. Disposable cameras, yeah. And it so much. I was thinking this morning, I wonder what people will be doing in 50 years' time, or say 30 years' time, looking back here and thinking, wow, you really did that? Does that make sense? Hi, Willie No, how you doing? It's not a problem at all. Not, you can always catch up with it on the YouTube channel. You know, I was wondering whether or not people are looking back and saying things like, do you know, they actually had phones that they held, you know, or glasses were really just that, or yeah, you know, people like that, we didn't have bionic limbs then and things like that. I really think, you know, it's going to be interesting what actually happens. So yeah, so this is where it all started, and I just wanted to briefly just sort of like talk about that and sort of like say, you know, where it's come from, and also the difference that it was between there and here. Willie No, take is Darth, if you remember Darth from Twitch. This is his YouTube name. So yeah, really interesting that SpellJammer has come back, and so many really interesting things in these books that I'll definitely go back and have a look at, and actually sort of like think, oh, what exactly, you know, what has changed and things like that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that little bit of a reminiscent part, but also an idea about, you know, the updates that I gave you all at the beginning. I am going to try, for example, I have some other streams, screenshots that I can use. So for example, I've got this one that I can add things to as well. And I've also got this one, you know, so I've got things that I can sort of like use to make it a little bit more exciting for things. And just like I mentioned before about the ticker going along, I do have some ideas for that as well. And so I'll just need to work on these. That's all I'll need to work on. But hopefully you might find that we're getting a little bit more, you know, state of the art. If you're interested in watching us play SpellJammer, then we're going to finish the current Mithras adventure. So we've got quite a way for that to go. We're not even halfway through. And then we're going to play SpellJammer after that. So, and there'll be some new people coming in to play with us for that. And then we'll go back to M Space after that, or back to Mithras. So do make a note of it in your calendar. Just to let you know that my streaming schedule is now on Twitch. I'm going to try to keep my schedule sorted so I start becoming a little bit more consistent throughout the weeks. And so you can go there, and also don't forget that you can go across to the Discord when you can find chatting about lots of different things. And don't forget that on the social media post there, all my clips to Twitter, etc. are there as well. So yeah, thank you so much for coming along and joining me this evening. I hope you've enjoyed that little bit of reminiscing back and the updates. And yeah, let's see how Artemis does on Friday when their next window of opportunity comes along. Thank you so much for staying with me. Don't forget the second half of the show will be made into a video that you can go back and have a look, or if you missed it. But the first half will never appear. I actually delete it, so it won't be present anymore at all. Thank you so much for your support. I really do appreciate it, and thank you for calling in, and thank you to anybody who's liked this video. I noticed a few of them popping up there, so that's a very grateful for that as well. And maybe next time I'll try to stream to Twitter as well. I definitely see you later, Matt. See you later, Darth and Matt and Willie Gnome. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for supporting me in my exploits, and I will see you all again soon. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, but most importantly, you stay positive. See you later, people. Goodbye. Fancy transition. I'm trying to get the music organized. There will be music, I promise. Here comes the music now.